Over the last few days, markets have been absolutely tanking, whereas just a few days ago, the markets were totally euphoric, and many altcoins like XRP and Ethereum were well on their way to making new range highs. But this is when the entire crypto market dumped about $193 billion, liquidating tons of longs and traders. Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, and XRP dumped a whopping 19%. In any typical market, that would be considered unheard of. A 20% dump on something like the S&P 500 is considered recessionary. And this happened over the tune of just 2 days. So what the heck is happening to crypto markets? And we've had loads of people on the channel reaching out asking what happens next and how to approach this recent volatility. Should you be dip buying right now? Should you hold off for a while? Are bankers in to ruin your day? And in this video, I'll be answering those questions that many have been asking. Like, is now the best time to take profits, or will the market continue to dump a little bit more, put in a local top through the rest of the summer? And as I stated before, many people are calling this a banker's play, where the elites are intentionally crashing the prices so they can steal your crypto from you, or basically buy it at way cheaper prices. And in this video, I'll be sharing some interesting data which will give us insights into these claims and what's really going on. We'll also dive into a few pieces of news on the bull side and the bear side so you can make up your own mind about what you would like to do next, and I'll even be sharing my opinions when I look at the chart. But that said, there is a post from Digital Perspectives talking about how the DTCC is announcing that they can tokenize $100 trillion of assets, and how Ripple made a very smart play acquiring Hidden Road in order to approve and settle it. We'll be covering how 2 brand new XRP ledger accounts were activated for 200 million XRP in each account. And many are speculating that these are some OTC deals with insiders and whales playing with big bags, and how this could affect the market. Alongside a recent post covering how Chris Larsen, the Ripple co-founder, has dumped nearly $200 million worth of XRP in the past 10 days, and he has the receipts to prove it. So I'll be doing some analysis and diving into charts alongside some futures contracts data to help us get a better picture of what day traders and institutions are doing. And before we begin the video, if you haven't already, head on over to Bull Runners HQ on Twitter or X. Be sure to follow the account, and by the way, that would be the very first step in order for you to enter our $100 worth of XRP giveaway. Last week's winner was Rosecut, and this week's winner could be you. All you need to do is follow the account, like, retweet, and comment below, and then subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter. You do need to follow through with all 3 of those steps because we do double check and verify, and then we pick a winner at random. But either way, go to bullrunners.com to subscribe to that list, and when you do, you'll get the free ebook called Altcoin Secrets, which helps you unlock the 23 secrets that we have found help you to find the explosive altcoins. This is the type of stuff that could help you become a crypto millionaire this bull market cycle. So again, one last time, go to bullrunners.com, check that out, and without further ado, as always, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777, and if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PauliEDEFI. In this video, I want to cover a few different pieces of news. Again, some bearish, some bullish, but generally speaking, explain why the crypto markets are currently down. Things rallied really hard into the last week, and as you can see here, XRP is still the #1 trending token, but down about 9.79%. I believe this would be on the day, but we can double verify by looking at the chart, and the majority of cryptos are in the red right now, with a few up on the week, but very little relative to the rest of the market. Unless it was down really bad, something like Uniswap is still up 10% on the week, but down over the last 24 hours. And the reason that has occurred is because when everything rallies really freaking hard, you tend to get a lot of people that take on levered plays. They start borrowing money they do not have in the form of leverage, when you can take that little slider and go 2x, 3x, 10x, 20x, 50x because they're so confident that we're going to continue to get this bullish momentum. They FOMO, they want to make more money. What happens is the market, or better yet, bigger market participants with more money start to bet against them. And then what you call these market makers or any bigger players in general, institutions, come in with an X amount of dollars, and they know that if they can push the price down just far enough past some liquidation levels, then it will cause cascading liquidations and the market will tank, going do 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 do. And what happens is a lot of these players don't expect that, which is why they take on this leverage, but they don't have access to the same data, resources, and information that the bigger players have, i.e. order books, and sometimes they even own those order books. So this is nothing new. This has happened in past and previous cycles into major bull market rallies. And to give you that example, we'll go and look at Bitcoin, and then we'll go ahead and look at XRP. But as any of you might remember, if you were traders back in, or better yet, in crypto markets back during 2017 and 2020, you can see when Bitcoin rallied for some new all-time highs, it still dumped pretty hard of like 17.3% in a week. And then yet again, when it rallied all the way up to here to $34,000, we saw a dump of 20%. And yet again, we had quite a range bound dump when it hit a high of 40,000, down for 27%, and on the lows 30%. In the past bull market cycle of 2017, let's go ahead and zoom out. You can see that Bitcoin consistently did the exact same thing. Pumped really hard for some new highs, dumped about 40%. Yet again, pumped really hard for some new highs, and as you can see right here, dumped another 40%. So if anything, these dumps are actually getting less and less volatile on a bigger asset like Bitcoin, but XRP is still a far smaller asset class, and that's obviously proven when you look at the market cap. And let me go ahead and increase the size of this. The market cap of Bitcoin is sitting at $2.35 trillion, and XRP is less than a tenth of that size at $183 billion. That is still a very large market, which is a good indicator of major demand and just market interest. But generally speaking, it takes a lot less money to dump something like XRP versus Bitcoin. And when XRP has been rallying and doing a lot better than the majority of tokens in the entire space, just this last week, for example, couple weeks I should say, we pumped off of the lows of $1.92 to a new high for a 90% gain. You don't tend to just get 90% gains without seeing some sort of a retrace. And as you can see here, we did see a retrace, and that retrace came in at about a 19% dump. We're currently sitting about $3.14, and many people might have gotten wrecked or worried about whether or not this price is going to continue to dump. And let me go ahead and get out of the way here. But as you can see, this is actually pretty natural and very healthy for something like XRP, considering this is basically making a touchdown back to our range highs right here of $2.95 and $3 for our prior highs before breaking out for new all-time highs. It actually touches down perfectly at our prior high when Trump said XRP would be in a strategic national reserve right here in March. And if you look further back, let's go to that daily time frame, you can see that we have consistent resistance back here in these ranges going all the way back to December of 2024. So if anything, we're into new bull market territory. And although we're squatting for just a little bit, this is nothing unnatural or unhealthy. Many people might argue it is a banker's play. Many people might argue they're trying to steal your bags, hold the line, so on and so forth. I would just recommend you watch the price closely. We obviously don't want to be breaking below $3 and staying in that range for any extended period of time. And if anything, on a daily time frame, you can see that we're actually having a confluence of situations here where we also broke down below the 10 EMA, which is the blue line. We're being supported at the 20 EMA and our horizontal support and resistance. So for XRP to remain in a really strong, good uptrend, I would say that I would like to see XRP stay in this range. And I don't care how long we build up support below 366, as long as we remain above that 20 EMA and above $3, I'll be pretty happy. Now, if it breaks down for a day and it has a large wick down here somewhere to 280, 270 and gets bought right back up and closes above these ranges, or on a day closes here and then the next day we see a bear trap and the market rallies right back into these ranges above $3, I'd be totally happy, because that would be a strong indicator that the selling is probably done and we're ready to make some new highs. And yes, a lot of the news has been bullish. We've seen a few bearish pieces of news, but generally speaking, I don't think that's going to be enough to suppress the price of XRP, considering right now the entire crypto market's looking really strong. And even on the dump, you can see that Bitcoin dumped a lot less from these range highs right here, all the way down to 117 from about 120. So it experienced a far smaller percentage dump, and that's just because XRP, again, has rallied so much harder than something like Bitcoin and is a far smaller market. We have seen some market selling, and here shortly we'll take a look at some metrics and those wallets and Chris Larson and whether or not this has caused this dump. But I would argue this is not a time to directly get out of the market. Now, that is just my personal opinion. That is not financial advice. Do with your crypto as you wish. However, this is totally natural and healthy, even though it is a bit scary. Many people have been speculating that this dump occurred because the SEC first approved and then instantly paused Bitwise's ETF conversion. And I understand the SEC has consistently been working now to fast track and drop all sorts of crypto investigations and lawsuits, while at the same time granted an accelerated approval of Bitwise's 10 crypto index conversion into an ETF on Tuesday. And by the way, this ETF would contain all 10 of the top cryptos by market cap as a spot ETF, which would include XRP. So yes, this was really big news. However, they decided in the same day to reverse the order until the commission orders otherwise. In other words, this situation mirrors exactly what they did with Grayscale. And we're not too sure exactly why this is occurring, whether everything wasn't above board, whether they want to make sure that they're getting everything in order and doing it properly, or whether it's still political and that there are some key players inside of the SEC wanting to hinder the progress of crypto for all sorts of major banks and players to at least line themselves up and get ready for that next wave, because they know what's coming. Crypto's here to stay. An ETF on something like XRP would absolutely explode the price, and maybe they just want to properly position themselves right now by playing with the SEC, maybe having private closed door meetings and dinners, oozing and schmoozing them and telling them to delay these things until they're properly positioned, while at the same time causing a bit of panic in the markets by creating sell pressure. And then when they're ready to go, bam, everything gets approved and the markets start to soar and skyrocket. Either way, people are calling this funny business going on at the SEC, to which I totally agree. But either way, in the long term, we are definitely going to get a spot ETF for things like XRP, Solana, and all sorts of other coins like Dogecoin. Now, in other news, the DTCC did announce that they can tokenize $100 trillion of assets unilaterally without anyone's permission. And actually, back in April, they did announce a new platform for tokenized real-time collateral management that they would be launching, the Great Collateral Experiment, on April 23rd, which I assume went really well. And the way that they would do this is through their new app chain-based approach, and everything here would be blockchain, which increases the mobility and velocity of collateral, increases capital efficiency and liquidity, facilitates the convergence of traditional and digital assets, and enables an open digital liquidity ecosystem for market participants. And here is the craziest piece of information, and I'm assuming it's grown since 2023. However, in 2023, DTCC's subsidiaries processed securities transactions valued at $3 quadrillion, and its depository subsidiary provided custody and asset servicing for securities issued from over 150 countries and territories, valued at the US $85 trillion range. Now it's sitting at $100 trillion. And yes, much of this will be on chain. Now, what makes this interesting is the fact that back in March 11th of 2025, they put out this image and statement and how they were partnered with Hidden Road. Guess what? Hidden Road was acquired by Ripple for $1.25 billion and is their large clearinghouse, which likely is going to service this type of movement And if they're going to do it, it's going to be on the XRPL. So imagine $100 trillion worth of assets being tokenized and then used in real time on the XRPL. Now, with all of this said volatility and even that major play, there are some interesting rumors going around about what's really happening on the inside with Ripple, as 2 new accounts were created and funded with 200 million XRP each. Now, that is a lot of XRP, and currently that value would be at $628 million each, or a total of $1.25 billion in just XRP. And yes, if you did try to sell that much XRP into the open market, it would likely cause the price to crash at least 10, if not more %. So that said, these are likely OTC deals, and the reason that this person doesn't believe they are Ripple-owned accounts is because Ripple tends to configure their XRP accounts with proper account sets and a multi-signature wallet. These are not done like that, which likely concludes the fact that they are OTC deals. And these types of deals happen because there are major players who want to buy a lot of XRP without moving the price of it. So they buy off of a private seller and agree upon a price, typically lower than the current price of XRP, because either way, if they tried to sell 200 million XRP, it would actually dump the price. So this person could have bought it off a private seller for, let's say, an average of like 275. We simply don't know. But what we do know is that there's a lot of activity and interest right now, and these are likely OTC deals. Now, speaking of someone who has been selling into the open market, which we are seeing on the on-chain analytics and flows, apparently Chris Larsen just dumped $200 million worth of XRP in the past 10 days. And right here is the data directly from Crypto Quant from his address outflows. You can see that the price right here was near all-time highs back in 2017 and 2018. And that same exact wallet was dumping a boatload of tokens. And guess where the price went? Down. Then in similar fashion, we hit it new all-time highs right over here. And the price has been holding up really well. But that exact same wallet has now been dumping yet again. And it is verified that this is Chris Larsen's XRP wallet balance. You can see right here, we have a cumulative balance right now of 2.2 billion XRP tokens. And right over here, we have the outflows over the last 10 days to the tune of almost $200 million. And I did the math right here. We're at about $199 million of total outflows on XRP, which means, yes, he's been using these high prices to sell. And that could have been one of the reasons that XRP dumped into this range. Still, that doesn't spook me. Someone like him holding so much XRP, it's no different than a Jeff Bezos over at Amazon selling his stock, because ultimately they're really rich on this anyways, and they want to go and take some of that income and do other things with it or live their lives. So I don't really blame Chris Larsen for selling that XRP, especially because he got in so freaking early and he's so ridiculously profitable now. And right now there is a stupid amount of demand and liquidity that, in my opinion, if he wasn't selling a little bit, it would be foolish. So that said, this is probably what caused this dump, alongside a bit of leverage, which we will cover here shortly on the chart. But before we do, head on over to altcoinpro.com if you want access to your one-stop shop to helping you become a crypto millionaire. We offer everything in here, from live classes and courses to calls on technical analysis that I host every single Tuesday. When you head on over to the calendar, you can see Tuesdays I host the Technical Analysis Tuesday call, and I teach you exactly step by step how to look at a chart, how to understand indicators, how to know whether or not a crypto is a good crypto to get into and when to get into it by just looking at the chart. I help you to train your eyes to know what you're looking at every single Tuesday, and you can ask your questions live with me. But that's not all we offer. When you come over to the community, scroll down to one of our pinned posts, you can see that we're constantly updating our library. We teach you how to supercharge your investing and trading, when to buy, when to sell, how to manage losses, portfolio tips, how to prepare for flash crashes and corrections, how to take advantage of DeFi and do all the things you want to do in DeFi and put your money to work for you in yield farms. And I think that's actually one of the coolest things that we offer. We offer DeFi yield quick wins from our pro DeFi Mo. What a beautiful thing, by the way. And this last week, he was showing people how to take advantage of this fart coin and Sol Orca yield, which is yielding quite a bit, and every single week you can move it and earn just enough, if not more than enough, to pay back your monthly membership. And if you don't do that and you don't take advantage of that within 14 days, go ahead and ask for a refund. But we're so confident that we can help you to get your membership paid for by simply putting your crypto to work for you in a bunch of different ways. And by the way, he does do tutorials to show you step by step how to take advantage of these things in a very safe manner, and even do it in a range where you can earn a lot on the fees by just using your crypto, putting it to work for you, earning some interest, paying your membership. For example, this one was on ETH and SUI. So if you're holding ETH and SUI, you could do it for 160% APR this week. And the list goes on. You could even do it with just the US dollar if that's what you want to hold and earn on. The opportunities are endless here at Altcoin Pro University, and all you need to do is check out altcoinpro.com. We have so many freaking people winning. For example, one of our members, Tom Ryan, talked about how he put initial investment of 2 SOL into some of the plays that we were sharing and has now removed that plus another 400 SOL. And it's because of all of our trainers and DeFi coaches, which are total experts in the crypto space. And this could be you this bull market cycle. We even have another member named Dennis who literally took $500 and turned it into $105,000 on a token that we shared. And the list goes on. You literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain by checking it out. So head on over to Altcoin Pro. You'll see a page like this. Watch the 13-minute video and then go ahead and make your decision. You still have 14 days to ask for a refund if it ain't for you. So now let's go ahead and take a look at some of that futures data. And then we'll also look at the order books. But as you can see here, the open interest, which is the total amount of contracts on XRP, was consistently rising with the price rise on XRP. In other words, this is indicative of longs opening at the market. And I'm looking at a 4-hour time frame, which gives us enough data and insight. Then we put in a local top right here at 360, and yet again for a second time, you'll notice, although this looks very similar to the untrained eye, what's really interesting is that the open interest put in a lower high, which means no new contracts or interest were in for those prices. Then we saw a total collapse in open interest. When you see this type of stuff, this simply means that all of the longs have now been closing. And the reason the longs have been closing is because all of those longs have been getting liquidated as well. People are worried that they're going to lose their butts in a situation like this. You see all these huge spikes. These are long liquidations when the price has been dumping really hard. And so we don't have any new open interest while the price is rising. In one situation, we had a bit of rising open interest right here on the 4-hour time frame. If I zoom in a little bit more, you can see a rise in open interest while the price goes down is indicative of shorts opening, but then shorts quickly got out. And now the price has actually been struggling to break back above the $3.24 range, which leads me to believe there was just a lot of leverage in the system. And again, when you see that much leverage, we tend to get an unwinding. So right here, we have an exchange liquidation map. On the left-hand side, you can see that these are the people that are long. And see how small it is over on that side? Let me go ahead and get out of the way here. We have about $184 million in longs that would be liquidated at $2.78. And we have far more money on the right-hand side to the tune of $691 million of shorts that would be liquidated if XRP hits 360 yet again. So the reality is right now the bears are in control. And I like to bet with who is in control right now. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I know you're always supposed to bet against the herd, but what I found is this is a really good indicator that leads me to believe we're likely going a little bit lower. And if we do, that's totally fine. We could probably double down right back here, and I'll go ahead and zoom in again to at least $3 and remain above the 295 range. If we remain above this range, or better yet, break down one last time, see a wick or a close here, only to see the market rally right back above 295, I'll still be happy because that would be a reasonable range of support and above the 20 EMA before we make our next leg higher. But that said, let me know what you think is going to occur in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video, my friend. And one last time, check out Altcoin Pro. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.